All right, everybody, we are live. Can everybody see me and can everybody hear me? All right, I think we're working here. I think we're good. Excellent. Okay, we are live. Game wrapped up a little more than an hour ago, and we got some stuff to talk about because that was good. That was good. That was a good Seahawks game. Good way to start out the preseason. Good way to get things moving into 2024. So I'm going to stream for probably a little more than an hour. We're just going to talk this out. I'm going to address comments and stuff. But we got some stuff to talk about with that game because, like I said, that was really good. And I imagine that people are definitely going to want to dive deeper into this one because they're happy, they're satisfied, they're content with what they saw. So, this is my first post-game stream of the season, obviously, because it's the first game they played. So I'm going to go through stuff before we get started. Well, actually, first, before I get into any of that, let's talk a little bit about this game. So, the Seattle Seahawks win by a score of 16-3 in their first preseason game in LA against the Chargers. The offense was pretty good. They left some stuff on the board. They could have done a little bit better, but a lot of that was because they weren't playing with a lot of their starters. A lot of that was they were playing with backup quarterback, without their number one wide receiver, without their number one running back, without some of their offensive linemen that they're going to have next week. So it's to be expected that the offense is not going to be its best self. And even in that, there was plenty of good stuff to take away from this game. I thought that Sam Howell looked pretty good. He did make one or two bad throws. He did make one or two bad decisions. He held onto the ball a little too long on a couple plays, but there was also a lot of good stuff. He was relatively decisive on most of his throws, mostly just picking things apart underneath, which makes a lot of sense, especially in a game where you don't have DK Metcalf. So you're not going to see great things from the offense in that regard, and Sam Howell managed the game fairly well, picked up some third downs, did some nice things with his legs, hit Brady Russell for a nice touchdown pass on a third down. And overall, I think you come out of this game feeling that Sam Howell is as advertised. He is a okay, passable quarterback who belongs in the NFL and won't look completely lost on the field if you have to throw him into a game, which is what we traded for, essentially. So happy about that. And also, while we're here, PJ Walker was as advertised. Not much of an arm, not really much of consistent accuracy, but he does have just barely an NFL arm, and his playmaking ability with his legs, at the very least, is going to be frustrating for opposing defenses to deal with. I think that Kenny McIntosh looked really good. That was a very encouraging game for Kenny McIntosh. And that was something that he needed because some of the energy coming out of training camp has not been great on the part of Kenny McIntosh. And that's not to say Helani looked bad at all. But Helani scored a touchdown. Helani made other good plays as well. And he's probably a little bit better of a blocker than McIntosh, which is worth monitoring. But as of right now, I think we can very safely conclude that we have a full running back depth chart. And if people get hurt, we're going to be able to make things function for a little while, at the very least. And given that Kenny McIntosh has never played for the Seahawks before today in a real game, I think that was good to see. So running back stuff was good. Wide receiver stuff, I mean, I think that the most notable name today would be Shenault. Shenault had some catches. He had a couple of jet sweeps. He had a big kick return. Shenault, I think, has solidified his spot on the roster. So to me, Laviska Shenault Jr. is one of the big highlights of the game. Obviously, he wasn't our best player, but that's a guy who I think now clearly needs to make the team. So I am liking what I see on that front. We also got a nice play from Cody White, which he's got long odds to make the team, but he did make a nice play. He's had a good camp so far. Derek Young made a couple nice plays as well. He's a guy who's fighting for his life. So even there, we're starting to find out some stuff about this crop, right? Like, D. Eskridge did not really do anything offensively until near the end of the game, with admittedly a good jet sweep, but at this point, are we looking at Eskridge being one of the men left out? That seems very likely to me, and this is a game that helps illuminate that. Offensive line, hit or miss, sure, but they don't have a lot of their key guys. No Lucas yet, no Connor Williams yet. If Cross was out there, he was out there for very little. I didn't really notice him. If anybody has any clarity on that, please let me know, but I didn't see a lot of Charles Cross out there, if he was out there at all. So I think that you saw a welcome to the NFL moment from for Christian Haynes, where he got beat a couple times, looked bad on a couple plays, but was rounding into shape as the game went on. First play of the game, Laken Tomlinson gets beat on a running play, and you wonder if this is just the way it's going to be, and then he gets it together and plays okay. I thought Oluwatimi played a pretty good game overall. Forsyth gave up a pressure on the first drive. Okay, so yeah, there was no cross. I didn't think there was any cross, but yeah. If Forsyth was out there at left tackle, then there you go. So yeah, can't really judge the offensive line right now when we don't have a majority of our guys. We might barely have any of them. Like, the only starter may end up being, who started this game, may end up being Tomlinson, who is probably going to be the worst starter if we're being honest. Yeah, Olu, I thought there was one play, like an outside zone run, where he didn't get out, where he didn't get outside quick enough and wasn't able to throw the block in time, but pretty decent overall. Yeah, Bradford started, but Haynes may end up taking the job. We'll see what happens over the next couple weeks. I'm not going to be terribly surprised either way. So yeah, offensively, it wasn't ideal, but there was some stuff that I took out of that game for sure. Defense. Really nothing you can talk about with this defense in terms of, like, this should have been better, this needed to be better, this wasn't good enough, that wasn't good enough. There isn't really a lot of that going on here. This is a defense that looked ready for the regular season. From Byron Murphy, he made many good plays in this game. Many good plays in this game. Obviously, he doesn't come up with a sack, and he was very close to getting that sack, it's worth noting. But you got exactly what you thought you were going to get with Murphy. He's very disruptive, very, very hard, annoying to deal with as an offense. He's not going to make the play sometimes. However, he is going to create an opportunity for a play for somebody else, and that's exactly what he did tonight. Derek Hall gets pressure, doesn't get the sack. Byron Murphy tries to clean it up the middle, doesn't get the sack. Hall comes back into the play because of Murphy, gets the sack. So that is Byron Murphy. He doesn't finish the play, but he generates the play for somebody else. So there were plays where he split double teams. There were plays where he beat down on single teams. Murphy could not have looked much better than he did in that game. So the Byron Murphy experience looks pretty good. It's exactly as advertised, exactly kind of what I thought it would be when we got him. I thought Mike Morris played a pretty good game. He did jump off sides on a 4th and 3. However, I thought there was a really cool play where he dropped into coverage and actually made a play in coverage. So I'm looking at something like that and I'm going, hey, that's something we are going to do this year. We are going to be dropping defensive linemen into coverage some. That is the Mike McDonald way of doing things. So the fact that we were able to see an early rep of that being done well is very encouraging. I really like that. Derek Hall was awesome. Derek Hall, other than Murphy, may have been our best player in that game. I thought that he was consistently disruptive, consistently making plays. He got a sack, but it was more than the sacks. And he played most of that game. He played a big chunk of that game, obviously not going up against starters, but he did get some reps on Joe Alt, I saw. He did get some meaningful reps in against meaningful players. So I'm looking at stuff like that and I'm going, this is a different Derek Hall than we saw in 2023. So I'm very excited about that. I think everybody should be really excited about that. And how many times did the secondary either almost make an interception or in one case make an interception? They were always around the ball. Every time the ball popped up, there were people there. And today we had a lot of them slip through our fingers, but some days when the season starts, they're not. And then you're basically winning the game on the energy of single-handedly winning games because of your turnovers. Some hard hitting. Kayvon Wallace had a hard hit that generated the interception. Woolen got targeted a couple times on I think 3 times actually on the first 2 drives. Didn't give up any catches. Sticky. The Chargers took 20 minutes to get a first down. On every level, things worked. The Chargers really didn't start putting together long drives until near the end of the game when we didn't have a single player that is likely to make the team in the game except maybe 1 or 2 guys. Yeah, Woolen almost had an interception as well. That's another really good point. Yeah, there's really not much you can say about this defense other than they're ready to go, man. They are ready. They're ready to fight. They're ready to go for it. Boye Mafe did good. The little bit Nwosu played, he had a pressure in the backfield. I think that the inside linebackers did good. I know Tyrese Knight is going to have some plays where he just looks lost, but he made a nice play on a screen pass. John Radigan made a nice play near the goal line where he almost got a safety. And no Jerome Baker, but Tyrell Dodson had a couple nice plays as well. So that's the defense for you. Special teams wise, Myers misses an extra point, but he does make his field goals. So, okay. We did give up a big return on a kickoff, and Myers missed the box on a late kickoff that put the ball at the 40. So we can already kind of see this is going to be an area where something could end up being very costly. These new kickoff rules could hurt. That being said, we had a big kickoff return of our own. So, not ruling anything out. It could go our way, right? We could be the team that ends up with big kick returns. Punt returns, I still don't feel like I have a good feeling on who's going to return punts. I thought that Aesop Winston Jr. looked pretty good on punt returns, but he's very unlikely to make the team. We don't have room. Honestly, and this is the thing that's going to be kind of awkward, Eskridge looked probably the best of the punt returners because he didn't let the ball touch the ground. But in order for that to matter, Eskridge has to make the team, and he did not show that much as a offensive receiver in this game, so it's going to be kind of tough to fit him in there if he's not doing anything on that side, especially when you have a guy like Shenault. So, can Shenault return punts? If so, he becomes a very valuable piece. All right, so that's about it for the recap of the game overall. That's about the listing of stuff I wanted to go into here. So I am going to start opening it up to the chat, start addressing comments, start replying to questions and things like that. But real quick before we get into that, I want to thank everybody for spending your evening with me tonight. We're going to spend maybe about the next hour or so breaking down this game, talking about how we feel about it, talking about our experience watching it. And I'm going to reply to as many comments as I can in the chat, but understand that there are currently almost 200, and soon there will be more than 200 people in here. I may not be able to reply to every comment. I will reply to what I can. If you have a comment that you really want to be addressed, if you send it in the form of a super chat or a tip, then I'm guaranteed to see it, reply to it, and read it out on stream. And we're just going to basically do that for an hour. So if you are here Please like the stream if you haven't already. Down below, click the thumbs up button. Helps the channel out a lot. Subscribe to the channel if you're new and you want daily Seahawks content. I make 2 to 5 videos a day. You can see over there we have an August sub goal. We need about 342 more subs by the end of the month to get there. We can do it, but I need your help. So please click the sub button, click the bell for notifications. You can consider becoming a channel member. I want to get back to about 130 by the end of the month. We're currently at 114. Click the join button down below. Costs as little as $2 a month. And we also have a super chat tracker and a tip tracker over on the left side. Certain special amounts of a super chat or a tip will generate a custom GIF that plays in the upper left corner of the screen. All right, let's go ahead and get underway here. How did Grubb's debut of a scheme feel to you? There wasn't a lot. I felt like there wasn't a lot of attacking the middle of the field, which I'm expecting there to be more of when the season starts. But you saw some like jet sweeps, you saw some bubble screens, so you're seeing some of that stuff that he liked to utilize at UW. You didn't see a lot of attacking down the field, and when we did, it wasn't particularly successful. But one thing I did notice, PJ Walker, for as inaccurate a quarterback as he is and as flawed of a quarterback as he is, did a really good job of hitting his marks on third down. We converted a couple of 3rd and longs with PJ Walker in the game through his ability to thread the needle. And there was a little bit of attacking the middle of the field there, and I like that. That definitely was exciting to me. So I'm encouraged, man. I'm encouraged. And the screen pass we ran, partially, it didn't work. Partially, probably because we don't have any or most of our starting offensive linemen out there. Do you think we keep a quarterback 3? I seriously doubt it. I don't think we're going to take 3 quarterbacks into the season. I don't think we can afford to, and I don't think we need to. There's a very good chance PJ Walker ends up on the practice squad if he wants to be on the practice squad. Wasn't able to watch the first half. What are your key player takeaways of that half? Defense looks awesome, and the D-line front / formations looks so damn fun. Main stuff from the first half would probably be Derek Hall, Byron Murphy, and Kenny McIntosh. I think those were really our 3 best players in this game. I think those were our 3 best players. And that carried over in large part in the second half as well, don't get me wrong, but those were the guys that I think really stood out. I'd say Woolen as well, because he got targeted 3 times in the first quarter, and no receptions allowed, almost had an interception. I feel like we should keep 4 running backs, too risky, losing one to another team. Helani and Kenny look good. Look too good. Yeah, I think we're going to. Most teams carry 4 running backs. A vast majority of teams carry 4 running backs. It would be weird if we carried 3, I think. Do you think Cody White makes the cut? Probably not. I think it's become fairly clear we have to keep Shenault because of his special teams value. So there's 1 spot left. And you're saying you have Cody White, you have Derek Young, you have D. Eskridge, you have Aesop Winston Jr. I think the odds are stacked against Cody White, but he's the definition of a practice squatter, so I think that's where he will end up. Thoughts on Mike Jarrell, Seahawks Brendan Nelson? I mean, he looks like he belongs out there, which is actually kind of impressive, right? That's actually not too bad, because the worry with Mike Jarrell was that he was going to be completely lost because he's not familiar with football, really. He's not too familiar with this level of football, and he's out there at least grinding. I mean, it's going to be a while before he can play professionally in a real game, but it was workable. Kobe Bryant played a good game, but he was Johnny on the spot. I think that when you look at somebody like Murphy, who's beating and splitting double teams, that's a little more impactful. Our most impressive thing was his throwaways. He didn't even think twice, just got rid of it. He had a couple of those, yeah, Joe. He also took a couple of sacks that I'm not sure he needed to take. Like, he took 1 sack on 3rd down where we were in field goal range, and the sack is the only thing you cannot do. So I don't like that, but other than that, you're right. He had like 3, maybe 4 throwaways that were an improvement over some of the decision making he showed last year and so far in training camp. Thoughts on Tyrese Knight? Actually, pretty good. I didn't notice anything really bad with him. He was a hard hitter out there, and he had the really nice play on the screen pass. Not too bad at all. There were not too many moments where I was like, man, Tyrese Knight looks lost out there, which if he plays a lot this season, I'm sure there will be those moments, but I was impressed overall with all of the inside linebackers. Even Pat O'Connell made a nice little play in coverage late in the game. But yeah, Tyrese Knight seems like it's some of the stuff that we're hoping would come out. So far, so good, but there's a lot of work to be done. But I would say I was encouraged by that more than I was expecting. I'll put it to you that way. I get the team likes Curtis, but don't ever play him at tackle again. That was horrendous. Yeah. And a lot of the problems we had on offense were because of that, Mask. Because honestly, there were a couple bad moments from Christian Haynes. He had his welcome to the NFL moments. There might have been a bad moment or two from Oluwatimi. Laken Tomlinson got beat badly on the first play of the offensive play of the game. But I think Curtis was like the big problem out there. Stone was getting beat pretty bad too. It's so weird. I remember when Stone Forsythe came out in the draft, the narrative on him was, oh, he's only ever going to be able to be a left tackle. He's clearly a left tackle and a left tackle only. It seems like he's better at right tackle now. I don't know how that happened. That is very peculiar.
This time he goes down. It is Nwosu who gets there.
Okay. Looks like we have our first donation of the chat. Thank you, Seth Kialoha. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Thank you for the $9.99. The Nwosu GIF just played in the upper left corner. Thank you for the first custom GIF of the season. Defense looked hungry, and I really enjoyed the schemes. Seemed like there were multiple bodies around every receiver. Also, the depth on defense feels talented and reliable. Yeah, it definitely felt different than some recent Seahawks defenses, right? It felt very different. Now, it's a preseason game. We need it to carry over to the regular season, but that definitely felt different. There was one play where the Chargers were in their 2-minute offense near the end of the half, and they were running hurry up, so we couldn't change our plays on defense. So basically, they knew where everybody was going to be, so they could just pick apart our very simplistic defense. And then suddenly we threw a blitz at him at, I think, Easton Stick, and he didn't really know what to do. He ended up having to throw it away. Incomplete pass, stops the clock, makes the Chargers slow things down a little bit, huddle up, and then you can actually get some play calls in defensively. So it's little things like that. Like Carroll's defenses probably would have just let them keep going down the field without ever changing anything, because it wasn't in their nature to heavily lean on the blitz. Would have missed. I did not like that fake jet sweep QB draw. It looked to me like Howell should have handed it off and made a mistake. By the way, there was actually a play where Walker should have handed it off, should have kept it and handed it off instead, I think. So a little bit of that going around, but I think the jet sweep was there and Howell kept it. I think that was just a bad decision. Stone should be on the practice squad. I don't know. I think he's a functional backup. Howell didn't hand it off. It was on him, but neither option was open. I thought the outside was. It looked like to me like he could get the edge. Hello, Brendan. What do you think the practice squad will be? I think PJ Walker makes the practice squad. Kobe Lewis probably makes it too at this point. Cody White, Aesop Winston Jr., Jack Westover, or maybe Brady Russell. One of the two, not both, I don't think. Garrett Greenfield. Joey Hunt. Let me think here. I'm not going to name all of them, but those would be some of the guys that really stand out to me. Has Brady Russell solidified himself as tight end 3? No, I don't think so. I don't think so, Theo G. I think that Brady Russell is probably your definitive, like, practice squad type tight end. I think that AJ Barner clearly has more going on than Brady Russell. And I think that even though we haven't seen a lot from AJ Barner yet, by the time the season starts, he will be tight end 3. Westover will probably be tight end 4 on the practice squad. And maybe Russell gets on the practice squad as well, but I think it's tough to carry 2 tight ends. Yeah, there are new plays coming with option sweeps where it could either be a sweep QB or running back run. I would hope that's an option. I would hope it's an option to hand it off on that play. I'd be pretty disappointed if it wasn't, personally. Russell feels like a lock for the roster. He was with the starters, I believe, and seems like a gadgety player. I'm not convinced. Because then what? Do you lose A.J. Barner, who you spent a 4th-round pick on? Do you cut A.J. Barner? Because you can't cut Pharaoh Brown, right? Do you think the Connor Williams signing is a sign that we're going all in this season? I think it was. I think if we were going all in, we would have done way more void year stuff. I think that it is a sign that we were so concerned about the interior of the offensive line and A gap and B gap pressure that we felt like we would not be able to get a clean judgment of the offense because the interior offensive line would get way too much stuff blown up. I think they just wanted to get a I think they just wanted to get somebody in there who was good enough to allow the offense to either succeed or fail. How far you see Gino taking this team? I just feel they're waiting for Sam to develop more, but maybe that's just me. I think Gino could take us really far. I think Gino, the way that he's played over the last 2 years, collectively, I think he could take us very, very far. I think he could take us all the way to where we want to go. It wouldn't be easy to do so, but I do believe that it is doable. And given how few truly elite quarterbacks there are in the league, as an organization, you should be able to take on the challenge of winning championships with a quarterback who is very good, which is what Geno Smith is. So I'm not really thinking about Sam Howell that much right now. There's a part of me that expects him to just be a good backup for the next 2 years. And that's that. Hunter will help develop the young players and a potential for the future starter. I mean, that can happen as well. Oluwatimi looked pretty decent tonight, I thought. So I'm going to leave the door open on that. He is an older player. He has a lot of starting experience in college. So if he's a slow out of the gate, that probably just means he doesn't have it. But strange things happen sometimes. Do you think we trade PJ Walker? I don't think there's any trade value there, Nathan. No one would trade for PJ Walker. I think he ends up on our practice squad right now. You think we keep Bryant or Burns? There was no camp hype about Bryant at all. I'm very confident we keep Kobe Bryant as like the 4th safety. And Burns is really tough because I think we want to keep Burns, but we may not have the option to because we have so many corners already. And a couple of them are rookies we just drafted. I don't think we can cut DJ James or Nehemiah Pritchett unless they look really bad. I think Gino could have the best season in his career. I think he could be as good as he was in 2022. Did Daryl Taylor do anything? He's hurt, Pretentious Cameron. He did not play. I didn't see him out there. Thoughts on John Radigan? He played well. He made a couple nice plays. He looks a little healthier. I think last year he was still coming back from the ACL, or was it the ACL or the Achilles? One of the two. But I still don't really want him starting. So I would really personally prefer it if Baker and Dodson are able to stay healthy all year and stay in there. Did you like Miles Adams? I didn't notice a ton from Miles Adams. The guys I noticed on the defensive line were mostly Murphy and a little bit of Mike Morris. And then late in the game, we actually were getting some good stuff from Levelston and I guess Sheriff. So I didn't really notice a ton from Miles Adams personally. But I could have just missed it, I suppose. That certainly happens from time to time. Any thoughts on Sataoa Lomi? I haven't heard anything about him so far. I haven't heard anything about him either, good or bad, so he's probably just out there grinding and there isn't much to say. I don't think he'll be playing much this year, so I'm not too worried about it. I would love for Tyrese Knight to kind of jump the line here and end up as the top backup linebacker, but I feel like it's going to take a little bit of time with him. Sorry, guys. I did not sleep well last night. I'm a little bit out of it. I was not able to get a very good night's sleep last night, just being honest. All right. I think Knight already is. I feel like coaches have a tendency to lean towards the veteran if there's any question about who's first on the depth chart. So I think they look at Knight, somebody who doesn't have a ton of experience and only really has 1 year of anything resembling high-level play in college. And I think they look at Radigan, who did look pretty good tonight. And I feel like Tyrese Knight isn't there yet. I want him to be, because he's the guy who actually has a potentially bright future. Radigan really isn't. Radigan's kind of capped out as a backup and special teamer. But I'm not super optimistic about that. I feel like Knight comes in if we start missing a bunch of tackles to try and wake up the defense. He is a good run stopper in college. Yeah, he's a pretty... I don't think tackling is anything extraordinary with him, but it is fine. Yeah, okay. I think that we're just kind of, married to Baker and Dodson being good enough. Are you planning on doing DBD2 V8? I don't know what state the game is in because I haven't played it in forever, but I might be willing to do DBD2 versus 8. We'll see how it balances, and we'll see what state the game's in, but I haven't played it in so long. Excuse me. Have your views on the Murphy pick changed at all? I mean, they changed a little bit when I did my deep dive into him right after the draft was over. But I stand by a lot of what I said, and I feel like what happened tonight kind of confirmed my priors in some ways. He's a very disruptive player, but he's not a closer. And if you want to be considered an elite player in this league, if you want to get paid the big bucks, you have to be a closer. Jadeveon Clowney never got paid a monster contract because he wasn't a closer. He was a very good player, but he wasn't a closer. Coffee is for closers. So, to me, Byron Murphy, yeah, there's going to be a lot of value there. We're going to be happy with him. Nobody's going to be, upset we drafted him because he is going to be good, clearly. But he is not a closer. So, these comparisons to, Aaron Donald and Jalen Carter, I don't think they hold water. Well, Jalen Carter wasn't a closer in college either when you think about it, although there were other factors at play there. Jalen Carter wasn't a closer because of Georgia's defense playing the way that it played. Byron Murphy is genuinely not a very good tackler. Regardless. My position has changed a little bit, but I still have questions about it. Could see Kenny or Helani standing out and giving a spot for Russell. Also see them go one less IOL. Williams is an emergency guard. And give Brady a spot. 4 tight ends, though. You would only do that if you're going to be running a ton of 2 tight end sets and some 3 tight end sets. I don't think you carry 4 tight ends under any other circumstance. You think we'll be able to retain Baker and Dodson if they perform well this season? Oh, no, real quick. Nobody, thank you for the $20 tip. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Nobody, for the tip. It should show up in the tracker thing in a little bit here, and if not, I probably have to go kick it. Yes, there we go. Yeah, so there's a link in the first few lines of the stream description where you can tip. It's actually the best way to support if you want to. But thank you to Nobody for the tip. That's the name they gave. Do you think we'll be able to retain Baker and Dodson if they perform well this season? If they perform well, they're going to get some serious money, and we don't have a lot of money next year, so probably not. But I don't want to spend big money on linebacker. It's a position you can cheap out at and be fine. Like, look at a team like the Chiefs. They just cycle rookies through that position, and young guys like Nick Bolton and Leo Chenal, and they're good. And they're good enough to win Super Bowls with. Just do things like that. Don't spend huge money on inside linebackers unless he's Ray Lewis. Do you think Marquise Blair gets cut or put on the practice squad? I don't think he has room on the roster. I'll say that. So I could see him on the practice squad. I don't think we have room for him on the roster unless Kobe Bryant's having a bad camp. What position should we focus on in the next draft? Probably going to be inside linebacker and interior offensive line. But we need to let the season play out first. So nice to watch our defense not drop back 50 yards on like 3rd and 8. It is, although it is certainly worth noting that we still need to see what they do in actual games against starting caliber players. Like in this game, it's pretty easy to stop Easton Stick or Max Duggan on 3rd and 8. Going to be a lot harder to stop. Going to be a lot harder to stop Matt Stafford or even a Brock Purdy on 3rd and 8. I heard the only thing on Murphy is cramps, whatnot, not finishing practices from what the media said. Yeah, he was a little out of shape when he showed up. I'm not worried about that. That's not the part about Murphy I'm worried about. He shouldn't be playing massive snaps this year anyway. He should be rotated in. The thing that with him that I'm worried about is the fact that he's not a closer. He's not somebody who makes the play. He generates plays for other players, which that's very Clowney-like. That's Marcus Davenport-like. So that's kind of where I am with that. Brown and Barner are basically just blockers at this point, haven't showed any pass catching. Well, Brown's never been a pass catcher. We knew what he was when we got him. He is absolutely a pass catcher. I'm not a pass catcher, and we're cool with that. We are totally fine with that. Wait, there's a player named Max Duggan. Who am I thinking of? The Chargers back 3rd string quarterback, the TCU dude. Did I mispronounce his name? Dugar. Is it Dugar? I thought Dugar was the name of like one of those reality TV show families where they have like 800 kids and the show's about how they raise all the kids. We're going down a weird rabbit hole here. What makes you think Murphy's not a closer? Well, he's not. Like, if you look at his numbers in college. If you look at his numbers in college, he's a guy who gets a ton of pressure and gets a lot of plays where he's around the quarterback, but very few plays where he actually finishes the quarterback. He doesn't actually get the sack. Like, he has 8.5 career sacks in college in 3 years, I think. Yeah, he had a 3-year career at Texas, and it was like 8.5 sacks total. And that were a lot of pressures. His pressure to sack ratio is massive. Hey, Fly Artist, what's up? Radigan, the new Ballore, he played well, though. If he could be Nick Ballore, that would be totally fine. I'm totally down with that. Thoughts on Kenny McIntosh? I thought he was great, and that was really encouraging because there were some people concerned that he was never going to bounce back from the injury. And he looked like he was back, and he's a big play waiting to happen. And on that catch that he had, that converted, I think it was a 3rd down in the red zone, that was a great catch. That was a great catch and a great run. He looked like a natural receiving back on that play. What do you mean by closer? To be clear, baseball reference closer, seal the game type of stuff. I mean finishing the play. I mean closing out the play and actually getting the sack or getting the tackle for loss. He's not a very good tackler. He misses a lot of tackles. And he's somebody who tends to overrun the play a little bit so he doesn't actually make it. Now, sometimes he disrupts the play and somebody else comes in and gets the sack, which is exactly what happened tonight. Derek Hall gets pressure, forces the quarterback to climb the pocket, and Byron Murphy's right there to take away his ability to climb the pocket. He has an opportunity to get the sack, but he misses the tackle. Now Derek Hall gets back in the play, finishes the sack. That's what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm getting into here. Russell is a clear tight end 3. Then do we cut A.J. Barner? I don't know if I buy it. Well, he did get a TFL tonight, so that's one. Yeah, he's going to get some of them. It's not like he's never going to get them. But he's not a very good tackler, and there are a few different reasons why. He doesn't have very long arms. I do think he's got some technique stuff he can clean up. He can get better. Jalen Carter got better. Jalen Carter had 6 sacks combined in his last 2 years in Georgia, and then on Philly, he was exceeding that in his rookie year. The good news is there's actually a lot of guys on this defense who might be able to benefit from Murphy's presence, right? Like that's what we saw tonight with Derek Hall. Derek Hall still made the sack. Tight end 4 need a second tight end pass catcher. I just don't buy we're carrying 4 tight ends. If we carry 4 tight ends, that means we're going to have to sacrifice something somewhere else. And I don't know where that sacrifice comes from. Are we going to trade Trey Brown? Are we going to let Stone Forsythe just go? I don't buy it. Is there a reason for giving Kobe Lewis the most carries? Well, I think they saw enough from McIntosh and Holani to feel like they know those guys are going to be running back 3, running back 4. So I think they want to figure out who they want to put on the practice squad. And there are a few options there. But Kobe Lewis is somebody who could certainly be the guy. Thoughts on who should be the kickoff returner? I think it's very clearly Shane Alt. Shane Alt is really good at it, and he's also helping on offense. By the way, let me look something up here. Give me 1 second, guys. Laviska Shenault. So it's Shenault. Okay, Shenault. But Shenault is a good kickoff returner. It should be him. Derek Young, what did you think about him? Don't remember where he was on the unofficial depth chart, but he looked like he is close to wide receiver 5 to me. I have always liked Derek Young more than the average Seahawks fan, I think, because I'm a big fan of how much he can be used creatively. Like, he can line up at fullback. Remember a few years ago when the Rams were lining up Ben Skronek at fullback? Derek Young can do that. It's not a huge part of his game, but little things like that make him interesting. And I think that Derek Young, if you asked me who do I think makes the back end of the receiver room after Bobo, I think it would be Shenault. And I think that it will be Derek Young. I'm hitching my wagons to Jamie Sheriff just because his name. He played well. He played well. I feel like bottom of the roster pass rushers frequently look really good in those situations, though. Carson Schroer, I think, just became a member. Yes. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that, guys. My chat suddenly decided to start lagging really badly. But Carson Schroer, thank you for becoming a channel member. Okay. And I see your member message. Strong performance for Byron Murphy. The second tonight, thought he mostly caused the interception. Also can't wait for more Mafe. Think he's going crazy this year. Yeah, the thing with Mafe that's very interesting is he did not really play football until late in his high school career. He was very much a late bloomer. It's almost like Hakeem Olajuwon, where Hakeem Olajuwon did not know what basketball was until he turned like 17. So when he started showing his ability, it was clear that this guy's going to get better rapidly because it's not like he's been playing basketball since he was 5. He doesn't even know what basketball is hardly, and he's already this good. There's a little bit of that going on with Mafe. Was at work, didn't get to watch the game. Who impressed and who disappointed? I'd say the most impressive were McIntosh, Murphy, and Shoot. Derek Hall, who disappointed. I don't know if anybody really disappointed all that much. Like, Charbonnet didn't do anything, but he only played like 2 possessions. So I don't know if anybody really disappointed. Maybe Jason Myers. Didn't Artie Burns jump Trey Brown after the fight practice? The fight doesn't matter. Everyone's over that. Trey Brown's had a really good training camp. We're not going to throw him away because of one practice that got chippy. Did Pritchett or DJ James play today? I missed the second half. They played a lot. And DJ James had a chance at 2 interceptions, and Pritchett, I think, had a chance at 1. I think they both looked pretty good. None of them were brought in, but they were off deflections. It's hard to adjust to that at the last second. Thoughts on Kobe Bryant and Blair tonight? I know Bryant got the INT, but Blair was in on a lot of plays. Safety room looks good. Yeah, I think Kobe played a good game. I know Blair did some stuff as well, but the thing with Blair is I don't think there's room for him on the roster. We already have 4 safeties because Kayvon Wallace, but remember, Kayvon Wallace had a hand in creating the interception as well. And Kayvon Wallace has had a good camp. So there's only 1 safety spot left. I think it has to go to Kobe, and that leaves Blair maybe going to the practice squad. Did you see if our corners mirrored receivers across the formation? I didn't really see a lot of that, and I'm not expecting them to do that because I do think under McDonald we're going to run mostly zone. That's what he ran in Baltimore. I do think that McDonald's mostly going to run zone, so I'm not going to see a lot of mirroring. Maybe certain matchups there will. But I also feel like the Chargers didn't put guys in motion that much. We actually used a decent amount of pre-snap motion, so that was kind of exciting. Do you think we re-signed Woolen after his rookie contract? It depends on how he plays this year. I'm kind of thinking we're going to need to save that money for Witherspoon, though, because Witherspoon's going to be more expensive. He's a better all-around player, and I don't think we can afford to spend that kind of money on the cornerback position. We got to make a choice there, and I think it's clearly right now Witherspoon. Yeah, Pritchett had a chance at an interception. It was not an easy interception, though. He had a chance at it. Man, I don't want to lose Reek. I mean, corners are getting to the point now where you're going to be seeing them get like $100 million contracts and stuff. We're not that far away from it. And I mean, Witherspoon, if he plays the way he played last year and improves as you would expect a young player to over the next 2 years, he might be $100 million guy. Look at what Patrick Surtain's going to get a new contract at some point. Look at whatever Surtain gets. You know it's going to be significant. And know that Witherspoon's going to get more than that. Would still rather have Spoon. Yeah, Spoon's a better player. Spoon is clearly better than Woolen. He's a much more well-rounded player. And that's even when Woolen's at his best. Like, Woolen at his best is fantastic. But Witherspoon just brings a little more to the table. Chenault looked like Cordarrelle Patterson out there. Guy's good with yak. Yeah, he can do it. And he's still young, too. It's not like he's going to suddenly get old mid-season and forget how to do stuff. Who was playing nose tackle? Did Reed play inside? I'm going to have to go back and look at that. I didn't really pick up on a lot of that. Jaron Reed, I know, was giving an interview on the sideline pretty early in, I want to say, the third quarter. So I don't think he played very much. He might have not played at all. I think he played a tiny bit. But I'm going to have to look at that and see exactly how they set things up. I know they're going to do some Murphy nose tackle stuff this year, but I want to take a look and see exactly how they were aligning things again. Cigar Thoughts, beat reporter Greg Bell, figure it will take 6 to 8 weeks before we see the full effects of Mike Mack's defense as well as how Ryan Grubb can adjust. Agree. I mean, that's common. I think that's pretty common sense, rampancy. Like, you wouldn't expect it to happen immediately, but they can still win games and be successful with those without having everything going exactly the way it needs to go, especially when you're playing rebuilding teams like Denver and New England in the first 2 weeks. 1 second, guys. Okay, so I've pulled up. Let me take a look here. So who's lining up at nose tackle here? I think that's Murphy lining up over the nose on this play. On the interception, I think that's Murphy. And the Chargers have, like, no highlights here. Yeah, like, in the first half, they don't show any Chargers plays. And on that play, I think the nose tackle is... Yeah, that looks like Murphy again. It's either Murphy or Miles Adams. So I don't think Reed played very much in this game, if at all. I'm not seeing him out there. And I'm seeing some two-man fronts with the two edges standing up, which is kind of similar to what we did last year. Will Gino play it all during the preseason? I have to believe he does, Jonah. It would be, I think, a mistake to say that your quarterback doesn't have to play in the preseason at all, especially when he's learning a new offense. He's got to play. I expect him next week. I like what I saw from Wallace. Our safety room looks like it could be a serious problem. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. It'll work. And, you know, the safety position is not really a position that you need to spend top of the market at and have the best players in the world at. Like, Julian Love should be good enough for this defense to do what it needs to do. Rayshawn Jenkins should be good enough. Kayvon Wallace should be good enough. They're not going to be spectacular, but it's going to be fine. Does PFF give grades for preseason? I believe they do, yeah. I believe they do. I know they do write-ups. At the very minimum, they do write-ups on the preseason games, but I think they grade them as well. Because you should be able to grade them the exact same way you grade a regular season game, and they don't have anything else to do right now. Third down efficiency, time of possession, and that's not even our A-team already liking Grubb. Only took him a few series to figure out how to attack. Yeah, and he doesn't have a lot of his key players. No Noah Fant, no Charles Cross, no Geno Smith, no DK Metcalf. Like, he's doing what he can. Boom, boom, boom. Is DJ James or Jeremiah or Nehemiah Pritchett better? I like Pritchett better. Right now, it seems like James is a little bit ahead of him, but it's not meaning that much, right? One guy's probably like 5th string, the other guy's like 6th string. I don't think either guy's going to play very much this year. It would be kind of a disaster if one of them did. I am a big Pritchett fan. He was one of my guys in the draft. DJ James, I think is fine, but Pritchett was my guy. Hoping for that rainy game against Miami, upsetting the September champs would be huge momentum. That's that's the path, right? That's the way you beat Miami. You catch them in the bad weather, and it's possible. The game's in Seattle, isn't it? I mean, I think historically, though, it doesn't rain very often during Seattle games. Like, there's this myth, there's this belief that it's always rainy in Seattle. It's really not. Like, compared to some of these other cities, Seattle does not get that much rain at all. And I remember there was an extended stretch of time where it was not raining during Seahawks home games pretty much ever. And obviously it's happened some since then. It happens sometimes, but it's kind of a rare occurrence. Hindsight 2020 and all that. I'm still salty we didn't take Mustafa over AJ Barner. He balled the F out for Niners today. Yeah, I remember looking at Mustafa and thinking he was a little too much of a narrow use case, and McDonald needs versatile safeties. But at that point in the draft, you could probably do it, and it's not that big of a deal. And he is a good player. Seattle gets a lot of rain. It's just that it drizzles all the time instead of rain. Yeah, it wouldn't shock me. I don't know if this is, true. I'm not reporting this. It would not surprise me if places like Chicago get more rain in 2 days than Seattle gets in a month, a pretty decent percentage of the time. That's because Chargers didn't have a first down until 4 minutes left in the first half. Yeah, they did not. We get the most frequent rain, but not the most rain. Yeah. And light rain is not really going to interfere with football operations in any meaningful way when you think about it. By the way, the Mariners did win a few minutes ago, so shout out to them. Have they taken the lead in the division? Let me take a look here real quick. No, we are still in a dead heat because I guess the Astros won today. Yes, they did. You see us splitting our games with the Niners. We got to see what happens with Trent Williams and Ayuk first. I'm not going to say anything until we know what's going on with Ayuk and Trent. How many wins do you see Chargers getting in the regular season? Probably like 8. They'll be all right, but I mean, the Chargers may have had even less than us. Like, I didn't see Bosa out there. I didn't see Derwin James out there. Do you think we will see all the ones against the Titans for the first 2 drives, especially since they are having the joint practices? I'd say there's a pretty good chance of that, with the exception of guys like Abe Lucas, because they're still hurt, and maybe Jerome Baker will still be hurt, I guess, but I'd say this is about the time when you start playing the starters at least some. All right, so I'm only going to be streaming for a couple more minutes here, just so you guys know. Hawks Nest is streaming right now, and he's going to go probably pretty late. So if you want to talk more about this game and this upcoming season, then you can definitely head over there. There are a couple other Seahawks people streaming as well. But after this stream is over, I'm actually going to go head on over to Twitch. You can find the link to my Twitch in the description, and also dual streaming on Kick. I'm going to start Claire B in Resident Evil 2 Remake. Right before this game started, actually, like literally as they were kicking off, I was able to beat Leon A. So now I'm going to play through Claire B and probably get through that sometime early next week. But that's what's going to be going on tonight. So if you want to keep talking a little bit of football, you can come over there. Obviously, over there, things are a lot more casual, and I'm focused on the game. But you can come over there if you want to. Sub to Brendan on Twitch. You can sub for free if you have Amazon Prime. Help support Brendan. Yeah. That free sub on Twitch. YouTube needs to find a way how to, like, copy that with the membership program. Like, maybe if you get YouTube Premium, you get 1 free membership or something. It wouldn't be the same, but it would be the similar idea. I think you can rate him on YouTube. I don't think so. If there's functionality to raid somebody, I'm not familiar with it. Are we buying into Jeremy Fowler's report Abe will start week 1, or was he getting clicks? I don't think Jeremy Fowler's clickbaiting. Maybe he'll end up being wrong, but the report seems to be that Abe will be ready to play week 1. Now, I have some funny feeling that we're going to end up regretting that he did play week 1, but we'll get to that when we get to it. EJ did miss an open field tackle, but nothing major. Pritchett was decent tonight, but they both need time to develop. Yeah, and they'll get it. We have plenty of cornerback depth. It would be crazy bad luck if either of them saw significant time this year. All right, guys. Any more last second questions or comments or anything? I'm going to go ahead and get out of here in just a minute. Twitch can only do that because Amazon subsidizes Twitch for about 85% of its revenue. That's true. Twitch still does not make money. For Twitch, I mean. You can raid people by posting their links in the chat. Well, I mean, you guys know where to find Hawk's Nest. Oh, Pretentious Cameron, thank you for becoming a channel member. 31. Oh, well, you've been a channel member for 31 months. What did you like more, Resident Evil 2 or Resident Evil 4? You mean the remakes? I'd probably pick 4 because the PC port of Resident Evil 2 is kind of not very good. A lot of problems with the PC port. I've had to work my ass off to get that game to function, and I still have issues with the audio. But RE4 is also probably a little more fun. So I'd say Resident Evil 4. 2 might be a better game, but I think 4 is something that I'd rather play, and the Resident Evil 4 PC port was very good. And I think the Resident Evil 2 PC port was fine until they did the ray tracing update. Even if you have ray tracing off, it's a disaster. I hate it. I can tell you that down here in Georgia, it rains like a monsoon for like 30 to 45 minutes and not again for a week. Yeah, we don't, I mean, I don't live in Seattle, but we don't get like the super monsoons that often. We get like, relatively manageable, consistent rain for extended periods of time. It's not that bad, but it's noticeable. And I'm willing to bet places like Georgia or Chicago that get monsoon rains probably end up getting more total rain overall than Seattle does just in that very small period of time. All right, guys. I think people are happy. I think people should be happy. Thank you, everybody, for the first post-game stream of the year. If you haven't already, on your way out, please like the stream. And I will be back on YouTube tomorrow morning with videos. But for now, I'm heading over to Twitch. We're going to start Claire B on Resident Evil 2. By the way, this is my first time playing the remake. I played the original game through a couple times. But this is my first time playing through the remake. So what I see will be kind of new to me. Like, I still haven't met Chief Irons in the remake because he's not in Leon A. Or if he is, I missed him. So that's all going to be kind of new. But thank you for coming out here. Thank you to all my viewers. Thank you to everybody. Good game. Played well. I'm excited. You guys sound excited too. See you guys later. And go